I wanted to talk a little bit more about politics and COVID and what's going on right now, because there's a lot going on with Joe Rogan. And I want to talk about it a little bit because it is in relation to stocks and how we view the markets and stuff like that. But, Joe Rogan had a couple of, guys on his podcast, and depending on if you're a Democrat or Republican, you're like, these guys are absolute morons and crazy and they're killing people and spreading misinformation. If you're on the other side, you're like, these guys have got it right, whatever, right? That's what they want, right? They want us to fight and argue. But I think there's a bigger point here, right? Because you're seeing artists come off Spotify, Neil Young and others, and say, because we don't like Joe Rogan on Spotify and spreading false information. He's talking about Robert Malone and McCall, who got kicked off of Twitter and banning these guys for saying that their early opinions that masks don't work, which massive amount of stories out right now. That's even being reported by liberals, right? Liberal stations. The virus which originated in a Chinese lab. No one's allowed to say that you got kicked off, right? We know that's pretty much 100% fact. I mean, you knew 100% fact back then when China said, no, you're not coming into our country. I don't care. All you leading scientists know, well, we want to help you, China, because we never seen anything like, nope, no one's allowed to come in. Absolutely not. You can't come here. You can't come to Wuhan, right? Didn't let anyone in. Ultimate red flag, right? And if you get vaccinated, right? And this is when we first got the vaccinations. If you get vaccinated, you don't have to worry about catching COVID again. You don't have to worry about anything. You'll be fine. You don't have to wear masks anymore. And we know that's true today, right? But they got kicked off. Maybe some of their opinions may be a little bit more wild than that, but these are two renowned scientists. But more to the point here, why I bring it up is the fact that like Neil Young and a lot of these guys are coming off the platform because of someone interviewing someone to try to find more information out, to try to get this right, to learn more, and to have an opinion, right? I hate a lot of people in our industry that kill the freaking retail investors, and they don't give a shit about you, and they'll make money and tell you they're great, and the performance has been absolutely horrible and terrible. They have every right in America to go on these platforms and say what they want. I mean, not really on the platform so you can get kicked off, but that's, First Amendment. I mean, with freedom of speech, this is what our country was founded on. This allowed people like Neil Young to express themselves and, create their brand and not be held back. And it's just ironic to me that you're, ragging on someone where you could just disagree with it and say, listen, I don't like these guys. But saying you're spreading false information when they clearly weren't a year and a half ago, to me, again, whether you agree with them or not, I mean, you can look at every major platform, Daniel, that has been spreading misinformation on both fucking sides. You know what I mean? We've seen it. But I just think that this is incredible. We're going down a very crazy road here. We'll see how this turns out. But I want to see the fight here. I'm interested in the fight because a lot of people are starting to fight back and say F you. We saw it with the Chick-fil-A's. We saw it with what was that? Goya Beans or whatever that company where, again, woke crowd attacked these people. I think it's a really big deal because now Spotify just got their target raised, and a lot of these people who are coming out and saying these things realize they're going to lose a lot of people listening because you're either on the right and left or, conservative, whatever. But when you really come out that strong on one side, the other side is going to hate you and you're going to lose subscribers and everything. But I want to see how this plays out because I really think Spotify is a buy here, and I think it's going to result in more and more people listening to this. This is freedom of speech. Even if you hate it, just like I hate things, you hate things. Someone has the right to burn a flag, right? That's what our country was founded on. This is why I'm able to do this podcast, right? So, and express my feelings, which a lot of these were stuff that I heard from doctors all over who just treat people. Thousands and thousands of people I was sending me this information, and people were ragging on me, saying you're an asshole. But well, it turns out it wasn't misinformation. You just were only being fed one side of the story, and there was a big narrative there with an election going on. So I think it's important for you to understand. It's important for everyone to understand, get the facts, because this is about our families. And I say this to you all the time. I just didn't think, when it came to COVID, I get money, I get Wall Street, it trumps everything. I just didn't think it would trump, the health of your kids and, just helping your kids. And it's crazy. So just, how does this relate to stocks? I want to see how this plays out because you have that woke crowd that attacks everybody, and I don't like the fact that Joe Rogan came in and apologized, even though he apologized and said, this is why I did it. But I get it. I hate the fact that everybody apologizes for saying their true feelings. I'm just not a big fan of that. If that's what you believe, you believe. If you're in the KKK and you're racist and you say it, that's what you believe, that's what you believe. I hate it. Everybody can hate it. But you know what? For me, it's be yourself. That's you. And to say something where I didn't think Joe Rogan did anything wrong here, and a lot of people didn't do a lot of things wrong. They apologize. I hate the apology factor, but I am interested to see how this turns out because Spotify is starting to go higher. I think it's going to result in a stronger brand because people are just pissed off of canceling whatever they want to cancel if they just simply disagree with you, which is the values that our country was founded on.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I read a few headlines about this. He's got a 9 or 10 minute video. I believe it first posted on Instagram where he just held up his phone and talked to it and explained this. Couple of the headlines that stuck out to me, there was one about Joe Rogan apologizing, which is a little out of context in a sense, but you're right. 2 is thank you to the haters, because he does say thank you to all the haters. It's good to have haters. There's a lot of different angles you can snag for clickbait there. His apology in his defense was more to, hey, sorry for Spotify to have to deal with all this. He did say he was going to try to balance it out and maybe come up with, hey, if you have this guy, which is way over here on this opinion, then, sooner than later, I'm going to have somebody that counters that on the podcast, more options. So yeah, it was an apology. I know you're not taking a punch at him there, but I think that needs some context. This is the oldest play in the book. I mean, cancel culture is nothing new. People screaming at the top of their lungs so that somebody else can have a platform. I believe it was CBS this morning said, you have a right to freedom of speech, but you don't have the right to freedom of speech on a platform like this, which, is just hilarious. So I don't know how many viewers CNBC in the morning gets, but it's probably not anywhere near Joe Rogan and his audience. But the concept, it's just the old playbook. It's, hey, we don't agree with this, so we want to control everything. We want to control the narrative. To your point about Spotify, they're not profitable yet. I don't know if they're going to be, but it would be a good trade. I mean, it's down almost 40% over the last year. I'm on Seeking Alpha looking at it. As much as it is, I don't know. It's hard to go after. So are you talking about a trade or an investment here, Frank?
I think as an investment here.
Okay.
One is there's a reason why that when it comes to, why they're backing Joe Rogan. It's not that he just has so many more because subscribers, and I think it's like 11 million or something like that, just watching there. YouTube, it's like in the hundreds of millions. But when you're looking at the podcast model compared to the other model, and yes, it's 11 million on Spotify, but if you take a lot of these artists, you can get to, 20 million, 30 million that, that may come off the platform. Who knows?
No, they're not going to do that. Neil Young needed some more publicity and stuff. Nobody of any merit's going to have to walk.
Yeah, but they're trying to really, like, even Rolling Stone push narrative, like, you got to come off the platform, you got to come off the like this whole misinformation thing. When you're looking at this model, guys, it's important to realize this. When you have a royalty streaming model for music, it's not a huge earnings model, right? And yes, you say, well, it's royalties, but you have to pay a lot out. Podcast is a different model. This is why Spotify is the largest podcast platform in the world and became the largest platform in the world. Now they're getting more and more, subscribers to podcasts, but they're going all in on podcasts because the margins are much greater. And that's that expression of speech. There's no way they were going to say, hey, Joe, you're gone. No way. Absolutely. That's their business model. If they did that, the company would go down, I think 50% from here at least. It would be a great short. That's their model going forward. Like, this is their model. This is like, hey, podcasts, we want to hear people's opinion. We want to have this open. And, again, they got to control it. And you can't just go, you are on a platform. So you can't just say, hey, you know what? I think women should make less money than men and they're, inferior to whatever. You can't say whatever you want on these platforms, right? You're going to get nailed. But expressing your opinion and just having these people on and trying to learn from having a different, I love having a different opinion, especially if I'm bullish on something. I want to listen to the person that doesn't like it. What am I getting wrong? That makes us all better. You could disagree and you could be angry, but that makes you better by hearing both sides of the story. And in the media and everything, we're not hearing both sides of the story. We hear one narrative. This is how you have to believe it. That's it. And you could see now, if you go back and see how much has changed, if you get the vaccine, you're going to be fine. No masks, no nothing. And forcing this shit on us and masks reduce, the spread of COVID. It's not statistically true. You look at Israel, one of the countries that got vaccinated the quickest and most of their population wearing masks and everything. I mean, you saw from Delta and Omicron, numbers soar, which, by the way, numbers across the board, almost across the board, are going much, much lower now, right? We're seeing it ease, which was expected, which is cool. The numbers are definitely going in the right direction now. I think a month, 2 months from now, this is going to be a thing of the past. We see numbers come down dramatically because it just spread so fast. That's the model from South Africa. That's the model from Israel. So getting back to Spotify here, listen, their business model, Daniel, has to do with podcasts. And that's a great business model for them. And I just think this is going to strengthen their brand. Yeah, look, we stuck by this guy, and you should. You know, I think he's very fair, and people have their opinion. They don't like it, they like it, whatever. But either way, I think he's fair. I love his interviews, and I love watching the guy. I do. I just think he's fair. I think he's cool, and I enjoy it. It's very entertaining. I just think, the reason why it's the #1 podcast in the world. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good for him. I don't listen to it all the time, but I try to catch a lot of them. I think what he's done is great. And yeah, I like how he doesn't back down. And hey, it's good for the haters. Like he said, all publicity is good publicity, Frank. And like I said, people just threatening to take their ball and go home. It's nothing new. It doesn't interest me.